Mount up! We're coming!
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Purple Insider. Matthew Coller here, and I am dressed up. Let's get Brian Murphy in as well here as we start the show. I am dressed up for
I'm not sure I want to know about this.
annual trivia challenge here as we go into the Super Bowl. Each year on the show, we use Manny's gigantic brain to do Super Bowl trivia. And of course, all of you in the comments can play along as well. But this year, since we've been doing roundtables with Murph wants in on this. He wants to challenge the big man here on Super Bowl trivia. There was trash talking.
No, challenge is the wrong word. I said
calling names. He was saying, man, I was watching Super Bowls before Manny was even born. I'm going to know all these trivia questions. So there was so much trash talk going on behind the scenes. I have put $50 American on the winner. Whoever wins this trivia challenge, I have created a point system, and I put on the Justin Jefferson glasses and brought a suit jacket to host this show. This is how important this is for me as we go into the Super Bowl. So let's just hear, before we get started, Manny, why don't you give him a little trash talk? Why don't you tell him why you're about to win this thing?
I'm going to win this thing because this is what I do. I do this, okay? I know about all of the Super Bowls, 1 through 58, and we've got 59 coming up on Sunday. This stuff is all in my brain, in my 40-year-old brain right now. Imagine 58 years of Super Bowls is in a 40-year-old brain. How about that? I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
What do you think, Murph?
The best I can do is say I am pretty solid between numbers 1 and 30. The last 30 years, as I've grown up a little bit and gotten involved, I've kind of not vacuumed up as many facts. I know the Patriots have won 6, but from about 2000 till today, it's all one big Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, an occasional Carolina Panthers, Jake Delhomme moment. That it's kind of a scramble.
Okay, well, that was the worst trash talk I've ever heard in my entire life. So
I'm reading a disclaimer.
So hopefully everybody is
go
ready
deep in the
to
weeds
go
on
here.
1 through 13, and I'll be okay with Manny.
Here's how it is going to work, fellas. I have 10 questions for each person, and they go up in points. Okay, so each question gets harder, and it's worth more points as you go along. So I'm going to have to open some sort of thing, the calculator or whatever. No, is there a notepad so I could keep a score here? I'll keep the notes on my phone for the score. But that's how it works. And any question where you have to name stuff, how many teams, which MVP, you got 30 seconds, okay? People are not going to wait around forever for you to make your answer. So if I ask you about which quarterback won whatever, you got 30 seconds, okay? So we're going to, I don't have a coin here. I have Diet Coke cans. Spin the Coke can for who's going to go first. Whoever the Coke can points at is going first.
I'm not making out with either of you.
You can't see it. You can't see it, but it's pointed toward Murph. Okay? Spin the Diet Coke can. Murph gets to go first. And so we'll go back and forth. Murph, you'll get the first question, then Manny, and then so forth from there. You guys ready? Do we want some dramatic music here a little bit as we get started? Let's see.
I mean, it would go with the wardrobe, right?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. All right. Super Bowl trivia time, fellas. First question goes to Brian Murphy. For 100 points, which teams have won the most Super Bowls? There are 2 teams that are tied for the most Super Bowl wins ever. Who are those 2 teams?
New England Patriots and Pittsburgh Steelers.
That is correct, Murph. I don't have a dinger, but that's a correct. So, Murph, you get 100 points. Well done.
They are getting progressively harder, though, right?
I really should. Oh, yes. I really should have thought of a system for keeping score. Okay. Manny, your first question. What was the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history? How many points is the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history?
That would be 25 points.
Correct. Each player with 100 points. Feel free to play along in the comments, but it gets progressively more challenging, okay? All right, so we're off to a good start here. For 200 points, Murph, who has the most receptions in Super Bowl history? I'll give you 4 choices. Is it Jerry Rice, Deion Branch, Lynn Swann, or Wes Welker? Most catches in Super Bowl history: Rice, Branch, Swann, or Welker?
I think it's got to be in the modern era, and I think it's got to be a Patriot. And I know it's probably unlikely that it's Wes Welker, but I know Tom Brady loved Wes Welker, and he was in a lot of them. So I'm going to go with Wes Welker.
I'm sorry, Murph, that is incorrect. It is Jerry Rice. It was as obvious as it gets. He owns every single record.
But I thought you were going to throw a curveball in there.
Not for 200 points, Murph.
I see you're answering none.
No, well, I made all the questions. If you guys had questions, I would answer them for. I'm wearing the jacket and the glasses, okay? If you guys were wearing the jacket and the glasses.
Hey, the chat room's 0 for 2 as well.
Yes, they are.
Okay, Manny, for 200 points. When the Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning as the quarterback, he was not the MVP. Who was? Was it DeMarcus Ware, TJ Ward, Von Miller, or Chris Harris?
That's an easy one. It was Von Miller. He was a man among boys that night.
Correct, Mr. Hill. 200 points. So now you are up to 300. Well, Murph flounders at 100 points. Our next question, and I'm using the chat that if I have anything factually wrong here, I did my research. I spent 11 hours today on this. I did not sleep. Just only focused on these questions. But if I do end up having something that is incorrect, chat, correct me.
It took you 11 hours to Google Super Bowl trivia questions?
I did all the legwork myself on these questions. Okay, for 300 points, Murph, Whitney Houston is known as having the GOAT national anthem, the greatest anthem ever sung. Which 2 franchises played in the Super Bowl that she was preceding with her incredible and beautiful rendition of the national anthem?
Yes, on the eve of the first Gulf War. Yes, that would be the New York Giants and the Buffalo Bills of Scott Norwood fame.
That is correct. 300 points goes to Brian Murphy. For Manny Hill, Manny, who was Russell Wilson targeting when he threw an interception at the goal line against the Patriots rather than turning around and handing the ball to Marshawn Lynch? Who did he decide that was a better option? I will give you the potential receivers. Was it Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, Ricardo Lockett, or Paul Richardson?
Read those names to me again.
Manny is struggling a little here with this one. Russell Wilson drops back to throw. It's intercepted by Malcolm Butler. He was targeting Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, Ricardo Lockett, or Paul Richardson.
I'm going to say Lockett.
You struggled, but you got it. That is correct. It was Ricardo Lockett. I threw Paul Richardson in there.
I was actually going to guess Chris Matthews. Remember Chris Matthews, the receiver that had a pretty good game that day? I was going to actually guess him if you hadn't
I
given
did
me
consider, because I had to pick between him and Paul Richardson for another guy that was on the roster and just played in that game or was just a random player. Okay, so Manny is 3 for 3, which means you have 600 points, and Murph, you have 400 points. For 400 more points, you can really feel the tension in the room increasing.
Big down right here.
Question. Yes.
It's a big down.
Murph, which quarterback had the highest completion percentage in a single Super Bowl? highest completion percentage ever in a single Super Bowl game? Was that Trent Dilfer, Joe Montana, Phil Simms, or Doug Williams? Which
Well,
one
I
of
remember
those?
it was celebrated at the time. I think he's still holding on to it. I'm going to go with Phil Simms.
That is correct, Mark.
21 of 25?
That is correct.
21 of
88%.
22?
Something like that. It was 88% was the completion percentage. Well
And he
done.
went to
sir.
Disney one.
Now here's a question that I'm particularly proud of, but maybe a little bit harder than 400 points, depending. We know who the greatest halftime performance ever was by. A guitar hero of mine, Prince. Oh my gosh. Every time I see it come up, the hairs on my arms stand up. He hits that note in Purple Rain. Unbelievable. So he played some of his own songs, but Prince also played cover songs, which was a rarity for the Super Bowl. Manny, for 400 points, can you name one other band or song that Prince covered in his Super Bowl performance? This one goes against Manny's strengths. This really, truly tests Mr. Hill.
Yeah, Super Bowl halftimes are not my expertise. I will admit
You thought
that.
this was going to be easy. You thought you were going to walk in here, blow Murph out of the water. Poor Murph, go play some golf, man. No.
Old man.
I'm stumped. I'm gonna have to, because the only thing I vividly remember was him doing Purple Rain in the rain in Miami for that Bears and Colts Super Bowl. But I think he got me stumped. I can't even, not even one other.
Is there a stealing option?
I did not think of a stealing option, and the chat.
Oh, Murph's got it.
I have
Murph's
one.
got
I
one.
think it might be, but I don't know that for a fact. Should I throw it out there?
I really did not think of this, but now I kind of like it. Now I like the steal option. If the person fails, the other person can take their points. Murph, give me your answer.
Only because I've seen him do this cover, or I saw him do this cover before, While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles.
Ooh, this is a good try, but unfortunately, no, he did not cover. Well, that I've seen that solo, and it's unbelievable and beautiful, but no, he did not. I will give you the list, and Zen Clover 84's got it. He covered the Foo Fighters in that. He covered Best of You by the Foo Fighters, All Along the Watchtower by Bob Dylan, Proud Mary by CCR, and Baby I'm a Star by the Marching 100, which I do not... Oh, no, with the Marching 100. Never mind. That's Baby I'm a Star is his. The Marching 100. Oh, and he did We Will Rock You, also by Queen. So Marching 100 was the band that played with him. So anyway, there are your covers, and nobody gets any points for that one. All right, on to the next one. This one I think might trip up Mr. Murphy because it is fairly recent. For 500 points. At US Bank Stadium, in the same end zone where the Philly special was created by Matt Barkley and the Chicago Bears, the Philadelphia Eagles copied that play in the Vikings stadium, and someone threw a football to Nick Foles. He scored. It's one of the all-time great Super Bowl plays. Who threw the football to Nick Foles for the Philly special?
Well, where's the A, B, C, or D option?
This one doesn't have one of those because it's 500 points. We're getting harder now.
Yeah, I can see it in my eyes, but I can't see the number or the nameplate. Doug Peterson called the play, right? That's the best I can do.
Manny, do you want to steal? Can you steal?
Was it tight
It
end
was
Trey Burton?
tight end Trey Burton. Well done.
Might as well drop the mic now because I don't think I'm going to be. A, that's a hell of a steal, and B, that's a 500-point drop right there.
Trey Burton got a big contract with the Bears the following season, basically based on the fact that he threw the Philly special. Well done, Manny, and you get 500 points for that. All right, well, this one actually might throw off Manny and might be more in your ballpark, Murph. And that's why I definitely thought of the idea of stealing points beforehand. How about this, Manny? Which running back has the most rushing yards in a Super Bowl game? This one might not be that easy, or it might. I don't know.
got a couple of options. Probably wrong on this one. I'm going to say Terrell Davis.
It's a great guess. It is not the correct guess. Murph, can you steal Manny's?
Oh, I know it.
John Riggins, Washington.
Right team, wrong player. Timmy Smith. The completely pop-up random 200-plus yards, Timmy Smith, and never to be heard from again.
Plays, right?
That I don't recall, but I do know that he was basically never an NFL player again. I think maybe cocaine was a problem there for Mr. Smith.
He did catch a pass from Ronald Reagan in the White House ceremony.
Yes. Well,
so I knew that.
That was not as part of the question. Well, all right.
That's
okay,
correct.
So where do we stand right now? Murph, you have, 800 points. Manny has 1,100 points. So, look, it's not over, Murph. We've got plenty of time to go. So for 600 points, the last time the Vikings made the Super Bowl, Murph, where was the game played?
The Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
I thought this one would actually be harder. 600 points to Brian Murphy. Well done.
Here's a great trivia. It was the last Super Bowl game played entirely in daylight.
I did not know that. You do not get bonus
it next
points.
year with the next sap that comes in.
Yeah, right. Hey, if Manny misses this one, you're rolling. And this one is actually going to be pretty hard, Manny, for 600 points. This is really going to test your skull. I want you to name the 3 cities that are not in the Southwest or the South to most recently host the Super Bowl. So the last 3 cities that are either in the Midwest or the North to host the Super Bowl.
Minneapolis, New York, East Rutherford. Yeah. Let's see. Indianapolis.
Wow. Oh, wow. He's good, folks. I was sure you were going to say
he was
Detroit.
Hunting for indoor stadiums in the recesses of his mind.
You went to say Detroit, and then you went, no.
Yeah, I did.
I heard it start to come out, and you went with Detroit. Well done. 600 points to Manny. A great round for both of you guys there. It only gets harder. 700 points. The points don't mean anything, but it gets more dramatic as I say it like that. Murph, who was the MVP of the 85 Bears famed Super Bowl?
That game or that season? You're talking
the Super
that
Bowl.
game.
The Super Bowl. Who won the Super Bowl MVP for the 85 Bears?
Richard Dent.
Whoa! I thought that this was going to be a really hard one. I had no recollection of that when I looked it up. Well done, Murph. 7.
Well, it had to be somebody on defense, and
I was so getting ready to steal that one.
Okay.
Well done, Murph.
You think you got your MVPs, Manny? Scott Norwood kicks it wide right. It should have been Thurman Thomas for the MVP. Everybody knows it. He was the best player in the game, but you can't win MVP on the losing team.
Wow.
I was there. OJ. The second OJ. He had a day. He had a night.
Okay. I thought MVPs would be a little trickier, and they were not for you guys.
Don't bring your long-winded questions into this party.
Yeah, that could have been 200 points for the way you guys treated it. All right, well, I'm going to turn up the heat. We're going to turn up the heat here. For 800 points, Murph, this one might be a tough one for you. Tom Brady is so close to not having all these Super Bowls. And one that he came especially close to losing was against Carolina in the year 2004. The game was tied at 29 apiece with 1 minute left. And the Panthers committed a horrendous infraction that led to Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl. A penalty. What was that penalty?
Too many men in the huddle.
It's a good guess, but it is not correct. I think Manny might know this one.
Yeah, that was that left-footed kicker, John Casey, kicking the ball out of bounds after Ricky Prohl scores the tying touchdown, or the touchdown to get him within 1 point. And Casey kicked it out of bounds and gave the Patriots the ball at the 40-yard line, and Brady made like 3 throws, and
that is correct. John Casey kicked the ball out of bounds. A significant penalty. All right, Manny. Well, if you don't
yield the floor.
If you don't get this one, maybe Murph could steal it back. Otherwise, he's going to be tough to catch, but plenty of points to still go. Manny, we all remember Eli Manning throwing the ball up to David Tyree, but who was the referee? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Actually, if you remember the referee, I do know who the referee was that did not call the play dead when he was in the grasp. It was Mike Carey, but that's not the question. The question is, so David Tyree makes the catch, but somebody else had to catch the game-winning touchdown. Who caught the game-winning touchdown?
That was an easy one. It's Plaxico Burress.
Easy one for Manny. Plaxico Burress.
Mm-hmm.
That was that.
He was great in that playoff run
round
for the Giants. Plaxico was awesome.
Where Manny starts to run away, where it's even hard to add up how many points you have now. But we move on. There could be a steal.
What
could change the game
for this one?
For 900 points, Murph, which team in the NFL has the most different starting quarterbacks in Super Bowls?
You said 30 seconds on these, right?
If you need a little more, we're trying to get a comeback here maybe from you. So take your time.
Most starting quarterbacks for one franchise in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Okay.
The number of gentlemen who have started Super Bowls.
Dallas Cowboys.
It's a good guess. And I believe they have 4, and there's a couple of franchises that have 4, but the San Francisco 49ers have 1 more, and they have the most starting quarterbacks. You've got Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, Steve Young, Joe Montana, and Colin Kaepernick. So they have 5 different starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Great guess. No cigar. Manny for 900 points. There are 3
on vapors here.
You could steal this one if he gets it wrong. There are 3 franchises that have exactly 1 Super Bowl appearance. Who are those 3 franchises? They've been 1 time.
They've been there 1 time. I almost said Carolina, but that's not true. 30 seconds. Wow. 1 Super Bowl appearance.
Correct.
Arizona.
It's only 3.
There's only 3 of them. Oh, wow. This is one I have to really think about, and I'm going to run out of time here. Jets.
Are the Jets right? Let me check. I don't think the Jets are correct.
Yeah, I think Jets have only been to 1.
Oh, yeah, 1-0. Yeah.
What's the clock at?
Okay, so I'm going to run out of time for this third one.
Okay, actually,
Chargers.
Chargers is correct. There are actually more teams.
I was just because I'm thinking of one right now.
Yeah. So I sorted it by 3 teams that have losses. So there's actually 5. But since the question was 3, if you get to 3, name 3 out of the 5. So you've got 2. I'll give you 10 more seconds since I screwed that up. You said
Arizona, Chargers.
Jets.
They both lost theirs.
And then Murph yelled Jets. So how about?
Well, he already said Jets.
Yeah, I said Jets.
Oh, you said Jets. Okay, well
and the Jets won there. The Jets won theirs though.
Yes. Then you get 3. I meant
Correct.
that it was supposed to be they have 3, but it's all losses. But I said the question wrong, so you get the points. That is my mistake. I had been flawlessly hosting this until that moment. I apologize. But the one other team is New Orleans that has 1 and a victory.
Yeah,
The 3 teams with losses are the Chargers, Titans, and Cardinals.
Titans.
What about the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, he just said the Titans.
Oh, you did say the Titans. Okay.
Yep.
And the 5th one was the Saints?
Saints. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well done.
Okay. For the final question, for final 2 questions, focus on the biggest plays, the longest plays in Super Bowl history. Murph, your question for 1,000 points is the longest pass ever in a Super Bowl.
I need the yards, not the people or the team.
You need the people. But if you got the yards, I would give it to you anyway.
I'm going to go Montana to Rice.
It's a great guess. It is not correct. Manny, do you want to steal that?
Longest pass in Super Bowl history. I'm going to say Jake Delhomme to Muhsin Muhammad in Super Bowl 38.
That is correct.
Was it 87 yards?
87 or 88, yeah.
I mean, what am I supposed to do with this?
I have no idea. Yeah, that's why they're the questions. All right, Manny, you think you're slick. What the longest run in Super Bowl history is the final question of our Super Bowl trivia, and I've stopped keeping score because you've won.
Willie Parker?
Correct. Willie Parker.
Yeah, for the Steelers.
So out of our 10 questions, I believe...
Can I just throw in what I think is the longest kickoff return in Super Bowl history?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know what it is.
Colton Walker, Miami Dolphins?
It is not. No, that was
Jacoby Jones.
Jacoby Jones. Yep.
Okay, then I have no use here.
Well, here's what I have to say.
109 yards.
Murph.
Oh, right. Okay, I forgot about that exact moment. Yep.
It's in New Orleans. Ravens, Niners.
You did a great job, Murph. You held your own.
How many points did I end up with?
Let me look.
Was I like 4 for 5 or 4 for 6?
It wasn't enough. 700, 1,300, and 1,700, 2,000, 2,100 points. I don't even want to say what Manny came up with because he got a steal there, so he got like 3,000.
Just looking at all the
Mr.
chats, though, I
3,000, baby.
think Zen Clover's the only one that got the correct answer, right, with the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, that is true. Actually,
horrible,
Bob also got Sam Fran for the number of teams with the quarterbacks. So
perfect.
they're
Bob's
not the
sweet.
only one.
Well done.
Well, why don't we take that? That was really fun. Why don't we take the rest of the time? I'll take these off. The light. It's blinding. And the jack, I'm very hot. Why don't we talk about the Super Bowl? I have not spent very much time at all on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, not a lot of compelling reading out there either on it.
Well, let me. There really hasn't been. It's like, do you guys know how good Myles Garrett would be on another team? Like that's been most of the Super Bowl coverage. That's been the Super Bowl coverage for this year. Let's just talk about who we think is going to win. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl, Murph?
Well, I've been staying with the Chiefs mainly because I love the storyline and I love the history, the three-peat angle, and just kind of, this is a legacy kind of moment now for, not that Reed and Mahomes and Kelsey need to burnish their credentials, but this is one of those that are going to put them on the pedestal forever. I don't think it's going to be necessarily exciting. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle. I mean, these are two really good defenses. So I'm looking at scores maybe in the 20s. I don't have one in mind. I have the Chiefs prevailing maybe by a field goal, mainly because they have that championship medal. They always seem to show up in the biggest moments. They're big on third down. They're big on fourth down. They just rise to the occasion. Philly has had an unbelievable run. They have great, great talent on both lines. They have a great quarterback. Their coach is a little, suspect at times, but all the guy does is win. I just feel like that in a familiar matchup like this of heavyweights who just met a couple years ago, I just feel like the team that has the most experience, that's been there in the past, that can live in those moments and thrive, I just feel like that's the edge. And again, I'm kind of rooting for history and to see something in 59 years we've never seen. So that's what I'm gravitating toward. But I mean, the odds makers have it at about 1.5. I mean, it's as close to a coin flip as you're going to get. A great football matchup, just not a very good personality or exciting matchup for people who are, have a little bit of Chiefs and Eagles fatigue.
I think the reason that I'm leaning toward the Eagles is if you told me, let's say I didn't see the Super Bowl and you walked into the room and I said, who won? They said, well, it was a blowout. My first impression would be the Philly won if it was a blowout. And that's like my unscientific way of thinking that Philly will win the game, because I feel like they have a lot more talent than the Chiefs. The coaching differential is there. The quarterback differential is there, though I can't say that Mahomes really outplayed Jalen Hurts the last time they were in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts was incredible the last time they were in the Super Bowl. And it's not like Mahomes even wildly outplayed Brock Purdy last time he was in the Super Bowl, or even actually wildly outplayed Jimmy Garoppolo when he won. I mean, every game is so close with the Chiefs that you have to think at some point, and it doesn't have to be today, but when they play this close all the time, that if someone is more talented than them, that they've got a chance. It's not like it's this behemoth. It's not like it's some of those teams that we were talking about, the San Francisco 49ers that were just blowing some people out in Super Bowls, that blew out the Broncos. This is a team that has eked by every step of the way, including the AFC Championship, and didn't really wow in the divisional round either against the Houston Texans. So I look, Manny, at Kansas City as just being more vulnerable.
Yeah, and the Chiefs have kind of, and in a lot of ways they deserve a lot of credit for this, but they've been kind of skating by pretty much all season long. They've been winning a lot of close games. They've been winning with their defense making plays late in games. They won a game at home against the Broncos on a I think it was a blocked field goal, something like that. So they've been kind of skating by. Now the flip side to that is, like I was just saying, you can kind of give them credit for that, because they're a team that is so battle tested, and they just know how to find ways to win football games. And we saw the Brady Patriots during that first 3 and 4 years championship stretch that they had, that they were kind of winning games like that. They won their Super Bowls like that, winning close, tightly contested games. So that you kind of wonder, like, how long are the Chiefs going to be able to continue to do that? I mean, even in the AFC Championship game, Josh Allen has the ball in his hands with a chance to march down the field and win the game. And it just didn't happen because of their defense being able to make some plays. So I just wonder if that's going to be the case with a team like Philadelphia that's just so talented with the running game. I mean, the Eagles have a running attack that they didn't have 2 years ago when they played the Chiefs the last time in the Super Bowl. Saquon is just a beast right now. He's playing the best football of his life. And I wonder if that element this time around is going to be a difference in the Eagles this time, if they're going to be able to run the ball with Saquon, kind of control the clock, keep Mahomes off the field, and really force the Chiefs defense to kind of carry them to victory.
One thing that I am not super keen on this Super Bowl for, because we just laid out how good the matchup is with Mahomes and Reed and the roster for the Eagles and Saquon and all that. Like, the star talent is everywhere. It's what you want for a Super Bowl as far as the players. But I think that there are some who are trying to make the Chiefs out to be the villains. They're not a very good villain. Like, oh, Taylor Swift likes them. The refs. Yeah, you just can't really get me there. Like, it was so easy with every Patriots Super Bowl. I am tuning in to root for whoever is playing the Patriots because they're smug and they cheat, and Tom Brady's chin is too perfect. Like, screw them, right? There was always that. I'd rather see Matt Ryan get his one Super Bowl. I'd rather see Jake Delhomme. I'd rather see, Kurt Warner or whatever. Although they weren't as obnoxious at that point. But you know what? The Rams. I'd rather see McVay and his cool hair win the Super Bowl as opposed to another Brady Super Bowl. One of the things that's just been not compelling for me is there is not a clear, you turn it on and you root for the underdog here. Neither one of these franchises are underdogs, but I know Vikings fans hate the Eagles. They also look at the Eagles with a ton of jealousy. And so that doesn't do much for me either. Like, their offensive line, they're fans who throw batteries. Like, okay, I don't know, right? But I mean, what else can you really say? They've got the best front office. They were brilliant in drafting Jalen Hurts. They've developed him into this great quarterback. They picked the exact right moment to go grab a running back that's a difference maker. They've picked all these defensive players who are monsters. respect, I guess, and Murph, to not have a team that you're truly hating. And I know some people are trying with Kansas City. I just can't really get there. Mahomes is not a hateable guy. And that I think takes some juice out of this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, this has always been the biggest prom in sports, right? Everybody chooses their side. Everybody feels like they can relate. Everybody has been invested not only through the 18 games in the postseason, but with these legacy franchises and these legacy players, you're familiar with them. So but if familiarity is the only thing that can kind of breed contempt, if that's all you have going, is I'm tired of seeing the red helmets, and I'm tired of the chop, and I'm tired of Andy Reid and his fast food commercials, and Mahomes and his insurance commercial. I get that to an extent. There is fatigue, but what counters that to me is greatness and playing at an elite level when everybody's coming to get you, not just in the AFC. I mean, look at the teams, the franchises, the quarterbacks that the Chiefs have fended off these last several years. I mean, you could argue the best quarterbacks in the league are in the AFC. I mean, so they've had to run through that. Granted, they've had opportunities at Arrowhead, which is one of those all-time home field advantages, but they won last year in Baltimore. They won big games on the road as well. And hey, if you win 15 games a year, you're going to get those home games. And, the Vikings could have won 15 and had a home game, and they didn't. So I look at this as, a team that you're right. They're not villainous, but they may be growing tiresome. And then when you add in the entire Taylor Swift realm, where you're sweeping in all the Swifties and pop music and sort of the casual fans, which, by the way, this is the only game the casual fans generally watch anyway. It's the Super Bowl. It's the last appointment television we have in this nation. So I am not as put off by the Chiefs as I would have been put off by the Cowboys or the 49ers or certainly the Patriots in those dynasty years. There just doesn't feel like there's enough to grab onto there to turn the Chiefs into villains, no matter how hard you try. And the officiating, I wouldn't even call it a debate, because we're not, you can't debate garbage against fact. I mean, it's sad that Roger Goodell feels compelled to address officiating bias and a Chiefs bias in his year-end State of the League address, because there's so much chatter out there. And, as Bob Swede said here, the refs will win. I mean, I don't know if it's just a convenient thing to throw out there or people really do believe that. We're in such a conspiracy theory era. Were the calls bad against Mahomes, the roughing the passer calls? Of course. I don't think anybody got in a room and said, we need to make this happen, though. And if you believe that, I don't even know why you're tuning in, because if you believe this is scripted entertainment, then the whole notion of it being the greatest unscripted entertainment on earth goes out the window, and there's no point of even following it. It's just WWE. So dismiss all of that. All of that being said, it would be nice to have a villain. It would be nice to have somebody to look at and project all your misery in life on. But we're not going to really have that Sunday. So take it for what it is. If you really want to have a villain, I mean, Vikings fans can, gather around the fact that they're united in their hate against Eagles fans and probably the city of Philadelphia in general.
Oh, this is it's hardly new in sports for the winner to become a cheater somehow, right? And so, well, they're cheating is the refs, which I'm sure you're right. The best quarterback I've ever seen in my life is definitely needing a call here or there to win these games. I mean, that's just kind of preposterous, but it's not new at all. I mean, what the Patriots were doing, secretly filming other teams' practices, was not uncommon in the NFL at the time. Just like, well, I believe that the Astros took it to another level, banging garbage cans and creating algorithms to try to solve the sign stealing. They were not the first to do sign stealing. I mean, there's always been rumors of things like that, of a certain person wears a white shirt in the outfield and they stand up on a curveball and they sit down, things like
That's
that.
100 years old, some of those stories.
Exactly. It's not the newest thing. And I'm not absolving the Houston Astros. I'm just saying that Like, this always tends to happen, and it's always pretty boring and just sounds jealous of everybody. And what do you want anybody to do about it? I mean, every single call, we have to have some huge debate. I cover how many games a year? Well, 17 or 18 usually. And you know how many times I walk out going, man, they blew that call. They missed that call. It's whatever. They're human people. It's the fastest game. We don't have the flawless replay system, the flawless chip in the football, the whatever. And it's, to me, it is the most boring thing to discuss as part of a game. Like, well, what if the refs rig it? Well, that just, like you said, Murph, don't watch. But I also think that we're in a space where the more conspiratorial and the more outraged people are, the more attention they get. So you see voices stepping up and saying the refs are out to win it for KC because it gets people upset. All the KC fans say, screw you. And then it becomes a big debate. And it's just,
and it's really just easier than acknowledging your team lost.
Well, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I also think that what we were talking about, the lack of a villain here, the lack of a true storyline, a true this versus this, David versus Goliath kind of thing, since they're both, well, you can't say they're both Goliath because Goliath lost, but you understand what I'm saying. They're both very, very good teams. It's not like there's an underdog. I think that's how the ref thing is born is, well, what do we got here? Kind of nothing. So if you love X's and O's, you've got a lot to talk about, but can we do broad on this? Not really. So anyway, I got a couple of sponsors for the show that I have to tell folks about, but I want you two to think about something, and then we'll talk about it to the end of the show here, which is your favorite Super Bowl ever. The most fun you ever had watching the Super Bowl. We'll talk about that in 1 minute. But first, our friends at Underdog Fantasy, a tremendous sponsor for this show, have No Sweat Sunday going on for the big game, which means that all Underdog users will either cash in on the big game entries that they make or get their money back in bonus credit. So think about that. You essentially cannot lose. You either win or you get your money back in bonus credit. An incredible deal, No Sweat Sunday for Underdog and the big game. Sign up using the code PURPLE, helps out the show. You also get a special pick. You get a deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. You got a lot going for you if you sign up for Underdog for No Sweat Sunday. Must be 18 or older. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Also, another new sponsor to the show is Tempo Meals, which I am trying because I'm trying to eat less of fast food. As you guys know, I eat a lot. It's a weekly delivery service that delivers chef-crafted meals from dietitian-approved menus right to your door. It was very easy. I logged on. I picked 4 meals, and I've got some sweet and sour meatballs, some honey glazed pork coming, some tender chipotle sirloin, but you don't always have to go full meat like I do with, it's a football show. But there's lots of different options. Took about 5 clicks and 45 seconds to do. So go to Tempo Meals, 60% off your first box, tempomeals.com/Purple Insider, tempomeals.com/Purple Insider for 60% off your first box. Okay. Murph, what was your favorite Super Bowl of all time?
Well, it got me thinking a little bit. It's a mix of professional and personal, and kind of timing. And Albino Slug beat me to it a little bit. Titans Rams. So this is the 99 season going into 2000. Help me out, Manny. Would that have been 38, 39? I don't know which Roman numeral it was, but for a long time, 34. Okay, not even close. The greatest show on turf, clearly the St. Louis Rams and Kurt Warner coming out of nowhere. Now, at the time, I was a first-year sports writer at the Detroit Free Press, and the Lions, I think, hosted the Rams, I think, week 8 or week 9, and Kurt Warner had just gotten on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and they sent me to St. Louis for several days leading up to that Rams-Lions game to have a sit-down with Warner, a sit-down with Dick Vermeil, and a sit-down with Marshall Faulk in one day. I got all these guys one-on-one in one day. So nobody from Detroit flies in and gets all 3 of these guys. And at the time, the Rams were just kind of a cute story. They were about 6-2, 7-1. They ended up going to Detroit and losing. But to watch that team coalesce around Warner, the classic grocery clerk, Arena League kid, nobody from nowhere, Roy Hobbs coming in the NFL and doing what he did offensively with that team, to see him playing in the Super Bowl a couple months later was incredible to me. And then the game itself, going down to the goal line. I mean, watching the Titans and McNair drive to within inches of was it Dixon who was trying to stretch over the goal line? I can't think of who
Dyson,
it was.
Kevin
Dyson.
Dyson.
Yeah, Kevin Dyson.
Yep.
Which of course was also the Music City Miracle year, when
a forward pass, by the Music City forward pass is how it's referred to.
Nah, I don't think you're going to go that far. Just like
forward.
the Drew Pearson push off. Again, if that's what makes you sleep at night, whatever gets you through the night, Coller.
Okay, I went forward. Go ahead.
But that to me, but to kind of be on the front lines as a sports journalist at the first time in my life, to kind of have that kind of access to watch that story blossom, watch the Rams blossom into what they became, and to watch that Super Bowl play out. And it was also the last Super Bowl where I was living in Detroit before I moved here later in 2000 for good. So it was kind of that last gathering at a college buddy's house to watch the game. And it was such a great game to watch. And in retrospect, I really, really appreciated that, because I was able to get behind the curtain a little bit on the Rams, have that one last hurrah with my buddies, and probably have one of the most entertaining Super Bowl games of all time, certainly up to that point, because in my lifetime, most of the Super Bowls were blowouts or boring. So that's the one that comes to mind the most, is the most enjoyable to watch and experience.
I think that is a great pick, and I think Manny and I are in the same camp with that Super Bowl, that even though the Titans,
I hope I didn't suck all the air out of the room on it.
No. It's one of the greatest of all time. The fact that they beat the Bills, was to my 12 or 13-year-old self pretty tough pill to swallow, but that did not stop me from rooting for Steve McNair, who I had really loved in that era and was such a cool player. And I wanted it so badly for Steve McNair. So I know, like you said, Kurt Warner, I mean, I think most people are probably rooting for him in that Super Bowl, but I thought, McNair had been drafted to Houston. They played in that stupid Vanderbilt stadium. He had been criticized as the guy who went from the HBCU and was a high draft pick, and they may have booed him when he got picked and all that. And he sort of built up around this team and was this close to winning the Super Bowl. So I wanted them to win it that year. But that is a great selection. What was yours, Manny?
Very quickly, just another little nugget on that Super Bowl. Offensive coordinator for the Titans that year. Vikings fans will remember this name very well. A certain guy by the name of Les Steckel.
Oh, really?
Really?
I did not know
Les
that.
Steckel was the offensive coordinator for the Titans.
Now there's a career resurrection right there.
He was the one who called I'm assuming he was the one who called the last play that should have had Dyson running to the end zone instead of 5
Middle
yards.
of the field, yeah.
Without a timeout, but I digress. So my favorite Super Bowl, it's kind of a tie between 32 and 38. 38 is the Panthers and Patriots. Mentioned that a little bit earlier with Casey kicking the ball out of bounds, but what a great game. And like, what stood out about that game for me was Jake Delhomme. I mean, you want to talk about out of nowhere quarterbacks leading a team to the Super Bowl. Jake Delhomme, this guy from Louisiana who just kind of bounced around the league for a couple of years, and then he just finds his way on Carolina, got, inserted into the starting lineup. I think it was Rodney Peete, I think may have been the starting quarterback at first for Carolina, and then he got benched for Delhomme, and Delhomme goes on this crazy run, him and Steve Smith, and he's this close to like beating the mighty New England Patriots. They were not quite the mighty Patriots yet, but they were going for their second title. And so they were still thought of as, kind of this emerging team, but they were obviously very good. And Delhomme almost took them down. And if not for that blasted John Casey kicking that ball out of bounds, giving Brady an opportunity. But Delhomme was great in that game. We mentioned the long touchdown to Muhsin Muhammad was incredible. And that was a tight game really throughout. Explosive score. All the scoring was done in the second and fourth quarters of that game, which was really weird. But
Vegas love that.
Yeah. But yeah, terrific game. And the other one is Super Bowl 32, Broncos, Packers. That one, stood out for a number of reasons. Obviously, John Elway winning his first Super Bowl, but that was kind of, at least in my mind, in Super Bowl history, kind of a turning point, I think, a little bit, because the NFC had been so dominant. They had won 13 straight Super Bowls up to that point. And, Elway was really at the forefront of being on the losing side of that, because he had lost 3 Super Bowls. None of them were particularly close. They were all blowouts. And this guy's out there just kind of carrying the Denver Broncos on his shoulders, for
What
pretty
about that
much his
third down
entire
pickup?
career.
NFL Films keeps showing him getting
The
blasted.
helicopter, the helicopter run. Yeah. But it just kind of represented a moment in where the Broncos, after so many years of Elway sort of carrying that franchise, that day, that night, it was the Broncos team that actually kind of carried Elway to that victory. You get Terrell Davis running for 150 plus yards, the Broncos defense making some plays late in that game. And Elway was just kind of a game manager in that game. He made some plays and some throws when he needed to, but statistically, he didn't have a great, I think he only threw for like 122 yards or something like that in that game. So, so it kind of represented, the turning point of the AFC getting off the schneid a little bit. It was also the last Super Bowl that NBC did before the network changing to CBS got the rights back for the AFC, and really just a remarkable game, and just a great game, just a tight game pretty much throughout. Favre making plays. You get these 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks going up against each other, 2 great coaches that kind of came from the Bill Walsh tree. Shanahan kind of by way of, being under George Seifert in San Francisco. And of course, Holmgren came directly from the Bill Walsh tree. So those are probably my 2 favorite Super Bowls of all time.
That one is the most memorable for me as far as like loving the Super Bowl, because there was a lot of really horrible Super Bowls that preceded that. Green Bay kind of blew out New England. The Dallas-Pittsburgh one wasn't that close. San Francisco and San Diego, horrible. The 2 Bills ones against Dallas, total blowouts. The last good Super Bowl before that one had been the Norwood wide right. And so we'd all kind of been pining for like, let's get a fairly close Super Bowl that's exciting and comes down to the wire. For me, there's a few of them that stand out as being like, when you go back in the day, there's a different sort of drama to it than maybe more recent. And yet the one that came to mind for me, and I'm just sorry to do this, is Philadelphia inside US Bank Stadium, because I had covered the NFC Championship. I had seen them trounce the Vikings. And then I was there doing Radio Row and media stuff around the Super Bowl for that entire week, and the whole build up and everything else, and the Nick Foles story. And it is the cover of my book is Zach Ertz scoring that touchdown, because the touchdown was influenced by PFF data that on the last day of them preparing, or right at the beginning of the week when they arrived, so the last few days of them preparing, Doug Peterson told their wide receivers coach, like, I want you to go through with a fine-tooth comb, look at all the analytics for any tendency that the Patriots have on defense. And he discovered this certain type of alignment that they had struggled with throughout the year using the PFF data, which then scores the game-winning touchdown and is the first chapter of my book. And so that one's kind of close to me because of that, because that was a turning point in the analytic movement. I mean, I've been interested in analytics and football since you guys have known me, and way before that, and reading Football Outsiders many years ago. But to have them convert the 4th downs and have the whole world say, wait a minute, they're working with multiple companies. It was PFF, and there was another company that did like the in-game management stuff. And they're making these data-driven decisions to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. What are we doing? And that after that, the adoption of PFF across the league exploded. The usage of it in the media exploded. 4th downs have quadrupled, whatever. I mean, it's by 10 times now what they used to go for on 4th downs. So that Super Bowl is not only like, hey, it was in our city, and what a crazy event that was. I remember going to the mall for Radio Row, and there were literal tanks outside the mall. And you're like, this is a pretty big deal, what we've got going on right now. My wife was a news reporter at the time, and she froze her ass off doing reporting outside the stadium and stuff like that. So that was really special. It was my second year in Minnesota. And also one of those seasons that you cover and go, man, like I don't ever want to do anything else but cover the NFL, right? So that one had a lot of, because 2016 didn't quite have that same effect on me. But it was a turning point, I think, in the NFL, going to a data-driven game. And I know a friend of Zach Ertz's who told me he's going to get him a copy of the book. So that's also kind of cool too. All right, before we call it a day, and we'll have, I think, one more get together with the three of us to just break down what happened in the Super Bowl next week. But how are you guys going to remember the 2024 season? It's almost over. For all intents and purposes, it was over a few weeks ago for Vikings fans. But Murph, how will you remember it doesn't have to be Vikings, just the 2024 NFL season?
I keep going back to the utter collapse of the Chicago Bears on the Hail Mary play in Washington. And I look at it as almost like two franchises intersecting. I mean, you don't think of Washington and Chicago as rivals or sort of competing with each other or really on the same par. I mean, the Bears have that 1,000-year-old history and Washington fairly recent history. But to see Jaden Daniels and then to see the Bears come in with their rookie quarterback, and they were cruising at 4-2, and they had an opportunity. I mean, there was a late touchdown, and it felt like the Bears were coalescing. They had their guy. There was momentum. There was good vibes, right, around the Bears, and it went away like that. And it went away because they were cocky, because they didn't get back to defend, because they let Daniels roam around for a day and a half in the pocket to launch a 70-yard missile. And if you can see two franchises literally going in opposite directions in one play in one season, I'm not saying the Bears won't rebound. They cleaned house. They're going to be formidable, I think, more so next year. But to see that happen in real time and play out and watch them utterly collapse after that, I'm not sure, and to see their head coach, 2 weeks later on national TV, try to take a timeout back with them to Chicago, I guess, and then really not have a plausible explanation a day later. Just the dysfunction. I'm not sure I've seen a lot of teams melt down during seasons, but not to that extent off of one single play, a Hail Mary, which is just so random anyway. I don't know why that stuck out to me, but I just thought I have never seen a collapse like this before, and I can't wait to see another one. It's just so entertaining.
I like that answer. And I was actually, because that was the Thursday night game for the Vikings. So I was watching that game, and I was going to do a live stream sort of breaking down all the things that had happened when the Vikings weren't playing. And I went live thinking that game was over. I was like, oh, okay, they're lining up for the Hail Mary, and let me just like get my computer ready and everything. And then the first thing in the chat is like, Bears, Bears, Bears. And the fact that Tyreek Stevenson is hyping up the crowd or mocking the crowd, and then he's the one involved. Yeah, I mean, as far as like a singular moment in play and thing from the season that will stand out, that's a great answer. How about you, Manny?
A couple things in that they both involve the quarterbacks. I mean, I will go the Vikings route with just Sam Darnold, revitalizing his career and really, putting himself in a position to where he can, we realize like he can play quarterback in the NFL. He's not a complete bust. It didn't work out with the Jets, but after bouncing around a little bit, he found a season where he was able to really turn things around. And now, if it's not going to be the Vikings next year, he's going to be on a team. He's going to have an opportunity to start and continue to play and sort of prove that, what we saw this past season was not a fluke, and that this is something that he can kind of continue. So that's going to stand out. And Jaden Daniels as well, just the emergence of him as a legit superstar to be in this league. I mean, he pretty much already is a superstar. I think you step in and play as well as he did, and take your team to the NFC Championship game. And it was a blowout loss, but I think to win 2 road games, a rookie quarterback to win 2 games on the road and go into Detroit and beat a team that was pretty much the front runner from day one to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC and to take them down, I think was just really impressive. And I think it kind of further proved, Coller, you and I talked about this the last few weeks now, that like the running quarterbacks are here to stay. And the best guys that play that position right now are guys that are athletic and can run and make plays. And these guys are not going anywhere. They're going to be around for a long time. And Jaden Daniels is sort of that next. Right now, we've got Lamar and Josh Allen and Mahomes kind of in their prime right now. Jaden Daniels is right behind them now, emerging as another one. And, you know, maybe with Caleb Williams, we'll see that too with Ben Johnson and the Bears. But it's a whole new ball game now where these young quarterbacks are athletic and they can make a lot of things happen with their legs, and they have legit arm talent as well. You can't just look at these guys and say, oh, well, you know, maybe he should be a wide receiver. Maybe he should be a running back. No, these guys are athletic. They're gifted, and they can throw the football as well as anybody in the league now. And that this is the way the league is trending. And these guys are not going anywhere. They're here to stay.
I just want to remind everybody, I was at the Combine in 2020 before the whole world shut down. And I was either at Jalen Hurts or I was watching it. And someone asked if he was going to work out at different positions. Like, we are that recent to quarterbacks who are athletic being asked if they're going to work out at different positions after throwing 40 touchdowns or something in his final year in college. We're not that far separated from that. And yet here we are, scrambling quarterbacks, running quarterbacks, making up the entire NFC and AFC championship. No surprise to us, but I guess the NFL finally figured that out after a while. Maybe if they had figured that out when Bo Jackson could throw the baseball from the wall all the way to home plate, maybe he would have been quite a quarterback. But for me, it's the most enjoyable group of men that I have covered. The 2017 football team was a fascinating locker room, and there was so much talent in there, and there's a lot of guys who were really intense and things like that. So I enjoyed that. But this was when we went to vote for the media good guy. I mean, you could have come up with 9 answers. And I don't just mean like, well, they were nice to us. I mean, they're nice to each other. They bonded with each other. They bonded with the coaching staff, with the fans, with the dances or whatever it might be. They connected with the community and things like that in ways that we just haven't really seen from a Vikings team in a long time. And we may not see again for a locker room that was this close, that gelled like this, because half of them going to be gone for next season. But this group was legitimately as close as I've ever seen. And that made for a really good time going in there every day and talking to the guys. Because sometimes, as Murph, as a reporter, it can be like pulling teeth, especially if things aren't going well and it's not comfortable for anybody. I mean, 2021 and things like that, 2016, it's like, okay, locker room's open. Let's see what we got now. But I mean, when
crickets.
Right. Exactly. But this year it was fun to go in there. And I almost felt like if I didn't go interview 5 people today, that I didn't do enough, because there was just so many great talkers, so many great personalities to cover. And Sam Darnold and covering his arc of someone who just showed up here with hopes to kind of get them by, and then he wins 14 games. All of that will be, seared in my memory for a long time. I will also think of this year as the year that our childhood returned, Manny, the running back, as being worth it again. We are not saying, hey, you could just get a running back anywhere. Don't ever draft them. Don't ever pay them. In fact, don't look a running back in the eye. They're trash. They're not worth it. Well,
they're like a used car. They depreciate as soon as you drive off the lot.
Right. Well, running backs are pretty valuable. And what I love about the NFL throughout its history is that it's always shape-shifting. It's always the same, but it's always different in the nuances. And this year, the running backs struck back, and I enjoyed it, and we're going to see it in the Super Bowl. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm glad that everybody could go along this journey. We got one more football game to go. You guys and I will break it down next week, and then it'll be full official NFL offseason mode. So I had a lot of fun with this, guys, and maybe I'll put on my shades here as I say goodbye. Thanks, Manny, the undisputed acknowledge him. Manny, number one in your trivia. Murph, good
He's
try.
I'm
our
the
goat.
trivia.
He's our
I'm the
goat.
trivia chief.
I knew what I
The
was getting
trivia
into.
chief. Yes. Acknowledge the chief of the trivia. But these round tables have been really fun. So thank you guys. Thank everybody for watching, and we'll catch y'all next time. Football.
Sounds good.
Football.